All right, we're live. GAG, everybody. Welcome to what's going to be another great DevNTell. So if you didn't know, DevNTell is a 30-minute window for builders to showcase something they're passionate about or been working on in Web3. This can be an awesome project you've been working on, demonstrating and testing best practices, automation goodies, smart contracts, how to structure a project, etc. Basically, if you got a passion for something, this is your opportunity to share it with the community here. And today I am ecstatic to have back Gery from Blocktorch, who will be giving us a updated look of his project, Blocktorch.
Thanks for the invitation.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for coming back on. I guess for our viewers that didn't catch you the first time, maybe do you want to do a brief introduction of yourself? How you got into Web3, how you started Blocktorch, how you got into DE?
Yeah. Totally. So we started Blocktorch to work on the idea of Blocktorch pretty much a year ago. That was also pretty much time when I joined DD. That was around the time of ETH Amsterdam, which I believe was mid-April 2022. And Amin, my co-founder, and I, we basically started with the idea that we believe better observability tooling, or in general, better dev tooling that makes the life of developers easier for Web3 engineers is needed to not only kind of like have the chance to build great applications, but then also to actually observe them and monitor them and scale them up and understand are there any problems that the users are facing due to any problem in the tech stack or not. And I personally actually started investing in crypto in like 2017. I started to learn Solidity to code in Solidity in 2020. Yeah, 2020 with the whole DeFi summer where I started from a user and then was like, okay, what is actually happening there in the back after a couple of rug pulls. And then, so after a couple of being a victim of rug pulls. And then, so basically that was my journey into Web3. And then I decided that I also really want to build something and believe it's, even though it's like a tough market right now, it's a great actually market to start building. And I think there's great dynamics and great motivation from everyone in that space to really give a push to Web3 in total and blockchain technologies in total and build cool stuff.
Yeah, man, that's pretty parallel to many people's stories, and just like you start out as a speculator, you get wrecked a couple of times, and then you become a builder. So yeah, I've been there, and I believe the last time we met, you were quite a small team. Have there been any changes in that? Have you guys expanded or whatnot?
Yes, totally. So basically, the last time we spoke, we were kind of like 3.5-ish people. We are right now 6 people. We were working as a fully remote team out of the European time zones. So basically from the London time zone to the Istanbul time zone. Yeah, we will also announce some interesting funding news next week. So definitely keep an eye out for that.
Excellent. Yeah, can't wait to hear it. And yeah, looking forward to see what you have in store for us today and that updated look here at Blocktorch.
Totally. So let me share my screen and I will basically jump right into our beta that is not yet available for everyone. So if you basically want to be updated as soon as it is going live, you can just go over to our website, blocktorch.xyz, and request access to the beta, and then send us an email, and we'll have you basically on our list. Or otherwise, just wait for a couple more days and then revisit back the website, and it will have a new look and feel, and it will also basically give you access directly to our beta. So what you see here is the login screen. You don't need to sign up or anything. Like you can just either log in by email, you will get a magic link, or you just, for example, log in with your socials or with your wallet. So we support all of it. So I'm now logging in simply with my GitHub. And there was some home screen that you saw that basically is not done yet. So there was some mock data there. But the idea is that you will first add your contracts. So for that purpose, I will be adding the contract of the code token from developer DAO. So let me get the address. You can see already here that we are supporting with the beta Ethereum, Polygon, and BNB chain. So if we look for the code token from developer DAO, it should now find it. Yeah, great. There indeed also are 2 contracts that are not verified with the same contract address on Polygon and Binance chain that we detected. But in that case, you can see here, this is the code verified smart contract. So we're gonna add it. We are still a bit work in progress. So in that case, even though it's verified, we have to copy paste the ABI directly. Otherwise, that's the idea. We're gonna fetch it from the block explorer, in that case Etherscan, if it's already a verified and published contract. So there will not be anything to do for the user. And you can give it a title that can be different to the one that is public. So also, if you have any smart contract that is not verified, you can also upload a JSON or paste the ABI here, and it will stay private. So basically, all of that information that you add within Blocktorch is not going to be shared with anyone. Just basically the public information that is on the blockchain available. Of course, can be seen by everyone. That's like by nature by the blockchain, right? Then let's give it some kind of description. So it's like the DevNTell demo. Save the contract. And with that, it should show up here. So this is a live demo right now of the product. It's not a mockup or anything. Okay, seems like the contract service maybe is under construction right now. So then you will see here like your contract. The idea of the overview is that once we go live with the beta, you will basically be able to add as many contracts as you want. And then you will also see some key metrics about it. And you will also, at the end of the day, be able to kind of like visually see if any contract is impacted by any anomaly or any behavior that you would wish not to be the case. So you can at one glance see directly, okay, what's kind of like the topology of my contracts? Is there anything that I need to dive into or not? Or any contract that I maybe should kind of like monitor more closely. And then coming to the monitoring part, so one big important piece of observability is, of course, monitoring and setting monitors and setting so-called service level objectives. So you'll be able to set service level objectives on your contracts, but not only on your contracts, also actually on off-chain data. So we have developed an SDK called Dragon that is open source. So already even today, if you check for like 0x Dragon or Blocktorch / 0x Dragon on npm, you will find it, and you can add it to your frontend. And with that, we are able to fetch transactions that are failing in the frontend already. So you can, for example, set a monitor, which is monitoring the number of failed transactions in your frontend that never make it on chain. So when a user tries to transact, the wallet pops up, and it basically acts as like it tries to propagate that call already to an RPC node. And if there's any error there already, because there is some bug in the frontend code, then you will never see that on chain, but the user actually is experiencing an error. You could also, for example, say, okay, from the front end, from Dragon being triggered to a successful transaction being mined, what's, for example, the latency? But let me show you an easy example. So as said, there are service level objectives as well. So this is more of like a percentage metric. That would be an event-based monitor for us, or we do a metric-based monitor. Let's just do a metric one, where we say, for example, the contract of the code token. Of course, if you could have added, or if the contract service would have worked correctly, then this should now here be easier to choose. I just copy pasted it again. We say the aggregation function is count, and we choose transactions. Oops, we choose transactions. For example, we want to monitor transactions with a gas price of more than 70 Gwei. I believe at the current state of gas price, it is quite expensive. We can say this should be monitored on a 1 hour rolling basis. We can also make it longer. We probably will also add like by block even, if you want to set specific monitors that are just block specific, like for example, your position in the block. If that's something that's relevant for you, you could basically monitor it by block and say, okay, the position should always be a percentage target or like a specific value. And here, let's say the number of transactions that has a gas more than 70 within 1 hour, you would expect to be 0. And let's go to DevNTell. Let's monitor spike demo. Get spikes. And this, we will basically be able to show you the data right away. This is under construction. So what you're seeing right here is just a line because it's not working as exactly as it should. But here you can already see that basically this is the monitor that we have just added. You can add as many monitors as you want. You can play around with it. We're gonna have some examples in our documentation. But any kind of state change, any kind of like you can also look for nonce changes. You can analyze wallets. Let's say, for example, you want to know whenever someone with a nonce less than 10 wants to is interacting with your smart contract, that means that basically it's a completely new wallet, or someone maybe inexperienced, you might actually want to somehow have in your front end some action that maybe supports this user better going through the flow, as it might be a very new person to Web3, or it's just a new wallet. But I think you can get kind of like the idea, and then we support bar charts and line charts for now, and then you will be able to visualize all of it. And whenever your targets are being breached, then it will trigger an alert, and you will basically see that alert. And then in the next iteration, in the next couple of days, we'll also add a notification engine. Then you can basically also get a notification through Slack or Discord or Telegram or wherever you would like to get your alert sent. And then the third part is the log manager. So one thing is basically adding your sources, so that can be Dragon for your front end asset, the SDK, or all the smart contracts that you want to add. And then you can also search through the logs, as well as the traces and any kind of transactions, and showing you there what I mean. So basically, you can, so for example, search for Dragon. Let's see if we have some data here right now. You will see here from the Dragon data, so that is front-end data, for example, okay, one was an error. So that is a transaction that never really made it on chain at the end of the day with the error message. So VM exceptional processing transaction. We worked with bad intentions. We triggered that on purpose. So we tried something out earlier today. Then here you see, for example, success. So what does it mean if Dragon shows a success? It means that basically Dragon catched a transaction that was triggered, and it was then also mined on the blockchain, and then we could basically put it together. And if we click and expand the details, we not only see the transaction data, but you will also be able to see the full stack trace. So here we can see that that was a static call, and we're working on basically fine-tuning the data here right now to make it more digestible and really see every single step of the transaction as it makes the journey from the front end to actually being picked up by a node and then also being mined. If we, for example, only search for traces, we will see here the different basically trace elements. And again, we will show additional information about the transaction data so that you can always basically see all of it. And then searching for transactions would just be the classic kind of like, okay, let's search for transactions on Ethereum and Polygon. Okay, both of it would not work. But here, if we only go for Ethereum right now, we would basically see the transactions on Ethereum. We are working on kind of like the idea, and that is something that we will also gather feedback if we should just support to see all logs from Ethereum right now, which is the case right now, or if we should only show the transactions, or if we should only make it possible to search for transactions that are the contracts that the user has added. So in this case, we would like to maybe only see the transactions of the code token without having to specify the contract. So we could, of course, also say, okay, we only want to see the transactions of the code token, but we have not fetched any here right now. I also have to say I didn't check before when was the last transfer. It was 5 hours ago. There was a transaction on the code token. So probably like the data here right now couldn't show that. But so basically that's the idea. We will be able to, and we're still working on that, as said, to fine tune it, to add more faucets, to make data more relevant, and to make the data also richer, so that you can look for everything from like transactions to like transaction details to stack traces, to specific data within transactions. Let's say you only want to see transactions where the balance of your contract has been impacted in a certain way, so that if you think about it in a holistic way, you can set monitors. You have monitors for specific data, and then you will be able to see whenever there are any spikes or any problems or any anomalies that occur, to also see all the logs that basically go hand in hand. So let's say you have a monitor where you get notified when there are no transactions with your contract after a certain period of time, like a liveliness detector or so, or from a specific wallet where there are like suddenly no transactions from the wallet anymore. You might want to basically dig into like the logs. Okay, what happened there? Is it because suddenly there was a bug in my front end, so Dragon still catches transactions actually, but they just fail? Or is there no transaction at all anymore? Like what's going on? And then you can basically identify the root cause better. That is kind of everything I wanted to show you guys. As said, it's still a bit work in progress. Oh, true. Maybe one more thing to show, as it's interesting. So in that way, you can basically invite new users. You can add emails, and then they will be added to your project, and they can also see the monitors that you have set. If you're like working in a team, you can create an API key if you want to use Dragon. So for Dragon, you will have to create an API key. And for the search, one nice feature also is like, let's say you build a complex search. Right now, the complexity maybe with the current faucets would be rather limited. But let's say you build something very complex, or you also just want to maybe look for some easy thing, and you want to share your exact search result with someone else so that person can look at the exact same logs that you looked at. You can just take the URL from the log manager, which is not shared right now in the screen share. You can just copy paste it, send it over to your friend, your colleague, someone you trust with, and you want to look at your project and your search and your logs. And then that person can click that link and basically is directly invited to it and can open it and sees exactly the same as you shared. So in that case, if I would share this link here right now with you, Narb, you would be able to access it and see exactly the same.
It's excellent, yeah, especially for troubleshooting and reporting, say you're on call or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the idea.
Yeah. And I have a couple of questions from my end, but for our viewers, if you have any questions, please post them in the comments section here, and I will ask on your behalf. But I saw you supported 3 chains, I believe, at the moment: Ethereum, Polygon, and Binance Smart Chain, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Are there any plans to go beyond that and expand beyond the reach of EVM? So say like Solana's and Nears of the world. Yeah.
So basically, we see the stack of the transaction kind of like being, let's call it like multi-layered. One layer are kind of like the blockchains that the decentralized applications are built upon, and they're like the initial idea now was, okay, we support the 3 biggest EVM chains. They are still by far the largest of all ecosystems, and then we go from there and see, okay, where is the need the biggest, instead of us kind of like making bets on certain, let's call it like ecosystem, like developer ecosystems. So yes, definitely, we also built the product in a way that this is not too hard to just add other data, like other chains as data source, and that also leads me to other data sources. So we're basically not only going to add other chains, but we're also going to add other data sources. So the end goal is like, you should be able to see logs from your Oracle in there, for example. You should be able to see logs from your data storage, like decentralized data storage, like IPFS on there. You should be able to, maybe if you like a Web 2.5 app or app developer, you might be using some observability tools already from the Web 2 world, like Datadog or Sentry, and they are all using a data format called OpenTelemetry, which is like a standard. And we also ensure that we are compatible, like we're using OpenTelemetry as well. So it will be able to kind of like either take Blocktorch data and ingest it into Datadog, for example, or take Sentry data and ingest it into Datadog, into Blocktorch, and then kind of like have all in one place instead of having to jump between different tools.
Yeah, that was actually my next question is like, if a DApp, if you wanted to monitor your DApp, your front end with all the blockchain data, is there an easy way to kind of congregate that data together without having to go from like Datadog to Blocktorch to
Yeah.
whatever? But
So we
sounds like,
have,
yeah.
yeah, we do not have an API yet for the initial beta release to expose the data through an API. But yes, the format is 100% like compatible, like it is interoperable. You can directly take the data as we basically use it and can put it into Datadog and it will work out of the box.
Beautiful. Love it. And in terms of the like alerting on the monitors,
Yeah.
do you foresee yourself adding that capability in like the standard way, like Datadog has it, or
Yes,
whatever observability? Yeah. So just like
exactly.
thresholds. Yeah.
So basically you set a threshold. If it's like an event based, basically means
Yeah.
the threshold is a percentage. So like the calculation, the general calculation is you take like your specified events and you divide it by the total events that kind of like make sense to your specified events. So if it's a transaction, it's like, let's say failed transactions divided by all transactions, that gives you a percentage of failed or successful transactions. And then you set your percentage target. If it's like a metric based, let's say a count, for example. So you don't want to, or you want to be notified when, I don't know, the liquidity level of something drops below a certain threshold. Then it's like, in that case, it would be like in ethers, for example.
Gotcha. And I guess on that alerting part, do you have plans to integrate? I know you mentioned that you will be able to send notifications via Slack and Telegram. Are there plans for an integration with something like PagerDuty, for example, to get that full end-to-end?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we thought about kind of like from the beginning we will do like Slack and maybe Telegram or some webhooks or email. And then we got basically want to hear feedback from the users and from potential users, which kind of channels they would prefer the most. We digged into the idea of using, for example, push protocol or XMTP, which are kind of like these tools for wallet-to-wallet communication and sending push notifications to wallets. And so we even thought about, okay, it would actually be cool because it's the Web3 way, right? To send an alert to a wallet. But then we would need to see whether actually a large number of users really wants it or not.
Yeah, that's true. You don't want to build something that like maybe 1% of your user base starts only uses and not the
Yeah.
other. Yeah, that's I feel that. I guess like what was the biggest or a set of the biggest challenges you faced like going from your alpha version to this version?
Yeah. So I think the biggest challenge was the whole pipeline. So we scraped the full kind of like code, like everything we had for the alpha, we all threw away, and we kind of restarted to build the beta from scratch with the learnings we made from the alpha, and to have like a pipeline that is fast, not only powerful but also fast, um, with multiple chains being extendable, so that we can actually iterate over it at other chains, at other data sources. That was, I would say, probably the biggest challenge. And then the second part was also coming up with a really neat UI and product design that allows users to build monitors and so on really fast. Like we have heard from so many builders in Web3 that they're super low on capacity. So building scripts themselves, like or like subgraphs or Forta bots or these kind of likes, is just super time consuming for them, and they don't have that much resources. So we're like, okay, we need to make it super fast and intuitive to start it off, but still have the powerful capacity to kind of like write queries and build monitors that go deep into the data of, for example, a node.
Yeah, totally makes sense. You want to make that the developer's life, the developer experience as easy as possible, and like having something like this like easy to set up, ready to go is going to be like awesome going forward. And I guess can you reveal a little bit about your project's roadmap? I know you said your release of this beta version is coming up soon. Do you have, or can you speak on what's kind of beyond that at this point in time?
Yeah. So I said, like, the beta release is going to happen next week, and then for us, it's all about learning about how users interact with Blocktorch, learning about their feedback. So please, either through the developer DAO Discord or just on Twitter or any other means, like, please reach out if you have comments, feedbacks, and whatsoever. We really want to kind of like learn from you guys on how you're using your product and what you like about it, what you hate about it, what do you think needs to be done differently. And then the future roadmap will really be also kind of defined by that feedback. We have a lot of like ideas and things that we want to add and want to build, and again, make the life of developers even more easier, and build out a more and more powerful observability platform. But it all has to go hand in hand with what the user really needs. So at the end of the day, there is nothing concrete I can say about the future, because it really depends on what we're going to learn in the next couple of weeks and months.
Makes sense. And I guess if people do have feedback, you mentioned reaching out over Discord or Twitter. What are your handles on that? And is there a form perhaps that people can fill out with like a feature request or feedback?
Yeah. So on the handles, probably the best is if I write them here into the chat, right? And you can include them.
Yes, 100%.
So my Twitter handle, Discord. Oh, I actually don't know the full Discord handle.
But we can do the Discord after the fact.
Okay, like there. I don't know the number that is attached to it by heart. But yeah. So if they look for CapG, they will definitely already find me in the developer DAO users. And that there is no form on the website yet, but there will be a form in the app to give feedback. So when people try it out, of course, we'll have like a form or a link embedded to just reach us. And then they can also just send an email to contact at blocktorch.xyz.
Beautiful. Love to hear it. And yeah, I guess with that, we're basically at time here. So thank you very much again, Gery, for coming on. Really looking forward to that launch next week. And again, this in front of builders' hands to start playing with.
Cool.
And,
thanks, Narb.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks, everyone.
And just before everyone leaves here, so there is the matter of kudos for the attendees here today. So what you'll want to do is pull out your QR code scanner. That's a regular QR code scanner, not one from our wallet. Scan this code, and at the top of the hour, for 1 hour's duration, you'll be able to mint a attendee kudos from Mint Kudos. So again, what you'll want to do is pull out a QR code scanner, scan this, and claim your kudos. And Gery, I have a special one for you that I will share with you after the fact.
Nice.
But yes, I just want to wish everybody a very happy Friday, happy weekend. And yeah, thank you again, Gery, for coming on. And you're more than welcome to come back on the show and show us what you've developed, just like the last time.
Thank you.
So, yeah,
thanks.
Looking forward
also,
to it.
Nice. Yeah. Happy Friday and happy weekend.
Yeah. All right, gang. Cheers. All the best.
Bye.
Bye.